what inspired it? And how did you feel after making it? Bring yourself to that place. And you're welcome to let me know in the comments what that moment looked like for you. If not, just hold that space within yourself. I remember whenever I was younger, I drew a picture of a baby and I copied it from a book full of nursery rhymes and lullabies, I think. Was it nursery rhymes or lullabies? I think it was lullabies. And there was this beautiful baby being embraced by its mother, and I drew that around the age of 10, and it was the first drawing that I felt really proud of. And I actually still have that drawing, strangely. So that I want you to hold that space inside of yourself. Now I want you to shift gears a little bit. I want you to remember the moment that somebody made you feel bad about your art for the first time, or a significant moment where someone made you feel bad about your art. Now, I know this is kind of an uncomfortable place to be, but I need you to go there to unblock your artist block, okay? So go there right now with me. We're gonna think of that moment. We're gonna close our eyes. What was that moment when someone made you feel like you were bad at art? Was it recently? Was it after you made something that you were proud of? Pull yourself back to that moment. Or maybe there was a moment where you saw somebody who you thought was better than you at art, and I want you to pull yourself back to that moment and ask yourself if you are still carrying the weight of this person's opinion. Are you allowing these subliminal messages from the media or from what's popular or from what sells to affect how you feel about your work? I want you to now imagine yourself somehow. Actually, what I like to do, this is what I want you to do. I want you to, in your mind, picture that moment and come up with a phrase, a belief that you now have because of that moment, okay? So now that you have that belief in your mind, I want you to recognize that this is a false belief. This is a limiting belief about yourself and about your creative abilities that was stemmed from negative criticism. I'm going to tell you my moment, but what I want you to do is I want you to get a piece of paper. I happen to have a really cool book. I know you're probably jealous. Man, my eye itches. Hang on. My eyelash is too long. I needed to cut it shorter. If you know, you know. So, I want you to write down that belief that you now have. Now, I'm going to bring you back to the moment that I felt bad about my artwork. Now, I was in art college at a critique. If you don't know, I graduated art college with a bachelor in fine art, and I focused in painting, but I took a bunch of different art classes. And anyways, if you know anything about art school, there you have weekly critiques, and the faculty looks at your artwork and they give you opinions about your artwork. Back then, my ego was way more brittle than it is now, because now you can't tell me anything I don't already know, or that professor, who was just a little older than me, was asking me these questions about my painting, and it was this abstract painting that I did, and she asked me why it was so flat, and she did it in a little bit of, well, I read into it and I thought it was snarky, and she asked me why I didn't have depth in my painting. And this sounds like a small thing, but she did it in a way that made me feel lesser than about my art. I felt like that painting had depth at the time. I didn't think that my painting was flat. I thought that it was very intricate and dynamic, and that it had physical depth. And so I took it personally, and I popped back, and then she told me that I needed to work on my attitude, and I kind of got a bad taste in my mouth towards her, but I also kind of got a bad taste in my mouth about myself and about my own artwork, even though it wasn't the worst thing to be told. I've been told other things, but that's the thing about critique, is sometimes you just internalize it. So now with some space, okay, so I'm gonna write down what she said, and I want you to do this. Write down what was said, or the belief that you have. I'm gonna write down your painting is flat and lacks depth. Now, I want to ask myself, is that a personal attack on me as an artist? Or is this just a critique on my art that may be valid? Is this a reflection of that person's perception, or is this a reflection of my art? Is it possible that that painting lacked depth, but I, as an artist, am deep, but maybe that painting could have been pushed further with stronger contrast and darker colors? Yeah, it's possible. Okay. So do you see what I'm saying? I'm asking myself questions about this statement, and I'm analyzing it, and I'm wondering, how did that affect me as an artist? And did I make it mean something more than it actually meant? What are the stories I created around these statements? Now I'm gonna write down the negative beliefs I have about myself and about my art based on the messaging I've received through society and through words that were said to me. I'm gonna write it all down. All right, I'm just gonna scribble it right now for the sake of time, though. And I'm gonna let you listen to it. But in real life, I want you to do this. Write it down, pause this, write it down. Okay, or think about it now. Now that you have it on a piece of paper, rip it out. Now that you ripped, what am I saying? Now that you ripped out your paper, rip it up. These are beliefs that no longer define you as an artist and as a creative. This is all hogwash. These are effing lies. Alright. Alright. Wow. If you're serious about unblocking creativity, I want you to journal every single day. This is called the morning pages. Alright. Have you heard of the book The Artist Way? If you have, please let me know in the comments. This is an amazing book. I recommend you read it, but or you can download it on Audible. I'm kind of an Audible girly myself, but I want you to do something that I learned from listening to this book. And this was a book that is tested. This is a book that has lasted, how do you say it, has stood the test of time. That's it. It was written series or something, and it has only gained more popularity and traction over the years. They've sold millions and millions of copies. And two of my biggest takeaways, I'm just gonna relay to you right now. One, read the book. Actually, three. The first, read the book. Okay, I don't know how to count. Read the book, but if you don't want to read the book, just listen to my takeaways. All right. I'm building suspension. All right. Takeaway number one: I want you to journal at least a few times a week. Ideally, it's every single day, but I don't want you to journal cognitive thoughts. And this is actually a good reminder for myself, because to be honest, I'm out of practice of this. You're gonna journal whatever comes to your mind. It can be gibberish. This is gonna unblock your creativity. It doesn't make sense logically, but it works. There are gonna be days where you don't feel like doing it. Those are the days you need it the most, okay? So I want you to journal the morning pages every single day. I want you to just literally, if something comes to your mind about childhood, write it down. If something comes to your mind that's literally gibberish, nonsense, stupid mess, write it down. So, where was I? You're gonna take yourself out on artist dates. What is that? It's basically where you take yourself out on a date once a week. You do something by yourself, for yourself. Like what? You ask. Well, you could go see a movie. You could go on a walk. You could go walking to... You could okay, let me think of some other things other than movies and walks. Hang on. You could go to an art museum. Ask yourself, what's something that would bring you joy? Now, the thing that we forget about being an artist and making meaningful art is that the artist can only make art. They can only draw from a well that is within. So your art is only as deep as you are. It has only as many visual experiences or just memories as you do. And so when you see artwork that speaks to you and that really strikes a chord with you, it's because that person went through something that filled their creative cup that they were then able to translate into a creative medium that then resonated with you as the viewer for whatever reason. It's hard to really speculate why certain artworks resonate with certain people because it's so incredibly subjective, but you have to remember that you are the most important resource. And you're the most important resource for your own art and your own creativity. So your experiences and your well-being is super important. Now, there are some myths about the troubled artist. It's true. Artists have emotions that often stem from trauma, like myself, or because they're processing things that have happened to them, or emotions that they have, or maybe they're just processing life. But like a healthy artist, if you're making artwork, you are inherently healthy, because an unhealthy person is not able to make artwork, if that makes sense. For instance, Vincent Van Gogh. You know Vincent Van Gogh, right? Everyone knows he was unhinged, but it was in between his manic spells that he was able to make his paintings. So when he was lucid, I think that's the word, when he had it together, that's when he made his artwork. So you have to become mentally well. How do you become mentally well enough to make artwork? Well, you make art. So it's kind of like, how do you become physically well enough to exercise? Well, you exercise, but it's like, how do you get that going? Well, you do the things I'm telling you. You take yourself out on a date by yourself. The reason this is important is because if you do this every week, or at least regularly, you are feeding your creative spirit. You're feeding your own creative soul. And you're filling your internal cup so that you have a well of creativity, knowledge, experiences. Maybe you want to go on a road trip and do it. Maybe you want to travel somewhere. Maybe you want to go to an art festival. Maybe you want to hang out with, well, you can't hang out with friends. This is something you have to do for yourself, by yourself. You cannot do this. You can hang out with friends, but that's a separate thing. That's not your artist state. Okay? Most people know in order to be mentally well, you have to incorporate socializing or community in some form. So, yes, there are other aspects of your mental wellness that is important to incorporate, and just there are aspects of life that, like, if you have artist block and you're not sure why, I want you to ask yourself if you are in a toxic friendship. Are you in a toxic relationship or marriage? Do you hate your job? These are not reasons to stop being creative, but these are reasons why people stop being creative, if that makes sense. Are you overwhelmed with responsibilities? If the answer is yes, then try to take baby steps towards fixing. You might realize that there are some things outside of your control in your life, like you can't change the fact that you have split custody of the kids, or you can't change the fact that you only have X amount of money, so you have to work this job that you don't love. You can't change the fact that you are saying yes to this volunteer agreement or this volunteer service that you are a part of, and you are giving so much of your time that you don't have time for yourself. You have to be a little selfish, and I know it goes against your intuition, most likely, especially if you're a woman, but you have to be selfish enough to say no to the things that are draining you of your creative energy. Okay, this is so incredibly important. How can I say it clearer than that? And this might make you less social. Maybe you're draining your creative energy just like drinking too much, or maybe you're watching too much Netflix like I do, or you're what I'm trying to get at is everybody has things in their life that are outside of their control that makes their life difficult. That is life. Being an artist gives you some control over your life. What I'm trying to say is there's always things in your life you can't control. That's being an artist, that's being a human. There's things in life that make life shitty, but there are things that you can control. I want you to focus your energy on those things that you can control, that you can cut out of your life. Cut it out, honey. Is it that person? Cut it out. It takes a lot of willpower, but if you want to be an artist, if you want to unblock your creativity, you have to have this level of commitment that you have to cut out that toxic person. You have to cut out those toxic friends that are staying out, every single night, that don't even really like you, but you guys get fucked up together, and that's the basis of your relationship. Like, you gotta cut those people out. You gotta cut out the habits, which I know we all have our vices, right? But you know if you have something holding you back from your potential. I want you to do your best to get a grip on that, okay? Like I said, we all have our vices. I'm not trying to make you feel like you have to be perfect. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is it is almost impossible to be a creative vessel for the divine if you are mentally and emotionally drained. Okay, so I need you to work on loving yourself and giving yourself those artist dates. Now, the last thing that I'm gonna do is a creative exercise with you, and it's a really fun exercise, and I'm going to link the original video that taught me this exercise in my description so that you can get a more in-depth version of this concept. And I also want her to get credit as well. But essentially, this exercise is all about making ugly art, and making ugly art is incredibly important because we have in our mind a lot of times that your art has to be pretty, and it's just not the case. Art can be powerful, controversial, and it can be ugly. And making ugly art can actually unblock your creativity. A lot of times you're not being creative because you're afraid of making something that you don't like. So if you can just kind of get that out of your system and see the beauty in making anything at all, then you can make things that you do like. But you have to confront the fear of making something ugly and then making something that you hate. This is one of the most clever ways to unblock creativity, and it looks like you can kind of see. Now I'm making a blob. Alright, so we have a blob with scribbles. Oh wow, it works. I'm getting distracted. Honestly, if I turned out the lights with that glow. That's kind of nice, isn't it? I like that. Okay, I love this fan, and I need to keep it with me more because it's been really, really hot. Okay, so I'm gonna I have my paints. These are all artist loft, and I'm just gonna put a few blobs of paint over here so I can have a little bit more to work with in terms of just color. We want it to be a variety of ugliness. Got some white, got some black. See, here's. I use a lot of different kinds of paint. Honestly, whatever materials you have, I want you to get them out. If you have a pen, if you have a pencil, I don't want you to focus on, oh, I don't have the exact materials as she has. I want you to focus on just the concept of making something horrifyingly ugly. And this will unblock your creativity. Or it at least is a step. And you've got your paintbrush. Alright, so now you're gonna take some brown, okay? Or just any color, and paint larger spaces and let it mix together. If there's something you like about it, mess it up. Take that black, mess it up. I'm telling you, this is how you do it. If it's looking too good, take that other colors and just fuck it up like you're a little kid. Doing creative exercises is important. Like, this is only one creative exercise. I have more up my sleeve, so let me know if you want to hear other creative exercises to help with other creative things. Let's take some blue. Really just really, ew. Alright, now I'm gonna take some red yellow and put it into the colors because it's looking too pretty, and I'm gonna make like this disgusting brown. You're just getting it out, okay? And you're allowing it to be as ew as possible. Let's take a closer look. Is there anything about that that you like? I like the pink part and the yellow part, so I'm gonna fuck that up a little bit. Okay? With some puke green. That's a relaxing word, isn't it? Just really make it as bad as possible. Eliminate anything that might be good. Just take it away. This is looking pretty ugly. I don't want to get too much repetition because that'll look good. Alright, so this is my ugly art piece. It's disgusting, and honestly, if it's dry, I could increase the blobbiness and the layers to the ugly, but in a way, like, this is what's crazy about art, and this is why exercises like these are so important. Like, look at it again, look at it closer, and allow yourself to go into the painting. Okay, allow yourself to look at it a little closer, maybe a little differently. Like, let's turn it this way. Maybe don't look at the whole thing, but look at a part of it. Do you maybe see something in there that you relate to? Is there something in there that is honest and human? Is there something in there that might be more raw and interesting than a lot of the artwork that people produce with the intention to prove something, with the intention of showing off how good they are, or to prove that they are talented or that they are worthy? This is actually more interesting than that, in a way. And yeah, it's ugly, yeah, it's bad, but in a way, there's something there. You know what I mean? So, how fun was that? My little fan. outside of your creative lane that will help your artist block. Here's a for instance, and this is kind of why I have so many creative endeavors, because they help each other. But if you're a painter, try pottery, try sewing. If you are a dancer, try painting. If you are experiencing artist block in writing, maybe try playing the flute. There's something about trying to learn something new in the arts that will unblock or help inform your other art practice. They relate to each other, even though most people see them all as separate. All of your creative endeavors come from the same place inside. So if, for instance, when I took a pottery class, I realized that my drawing and my sewing skills got better, because pottery is very circular and three-dimensional. So when you focus on three-dimensionality, it helps you understand three-dimensionality in drawing and painting as well. When you focus on circles, it helps you understand lines, because it's the opposite in painting, or sewing is very much linear. Does that make sense? That's just like a tangible example, but it probably goes way deeper than that. So I'm going to show you some of my more established paintings that some of them most of these are, you can watch the process on previous YouTube videos. So if you happen to stumble upon my channel on this video and any of these paintings intrigue you, you can look at previous videos and watch the process. So the first painting I want to show you is this beautiful landscape. I'm really proud of this painting. It actually did not take that long. I mean, it maybe took 4 hours in total, maybe 6. Maybe 6 hours, but I'm really proud of it, and I think it turned out really nicely. I love the mood and the detail, and the fog and the green. This one is way more abstract. It kind of falls in the ugly art realm. It could be any way, but I personally like it this way. Wait, well, it's backwards to you, so I don't know. I like it something like this. I did this in art college. I focused on deconstructing color and form and doing like non-painting paintings. So like everything that you might want to see in a painting, I took it away. But I really also focused on my favorite colors. It's very textured. And I don't know, I love it. It's fun, it's whimsical, it's me. Oh, this is a witch. And I'm not the one who designed this witch. This is just my interpretation of another artist's illustration. And I have it hanging in my room just because I find it beautiful and I enjoy looking at her. I have this really pretty Thomas Kincaid inspired landscape. This is one of my most recent paintings. I actually just posted a 6-hour painting tutorial of this painting, and in reality this took maybe 20 hours to complete, and I recorded maybe 10 hours of the process, whittled it down to a 6-hour video. And in the future I may record, or I might actually make it an even shorter video by just making it a shorter compilation of the process so that it's more digestible. But for those of you who love long ASMR videos and in-depth explanations of things, this video is the video for you. It's on my channel. I'm really proud of the way the painting turned out, but it was truly a labor of love. And way more detailed than what I'm used to doing. So yeah. And then last but not least, out of the artwork that I wanted to show you is this Elvis Presley, "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog." Probably one of my favorite songs from him is Crawfish, although I did realize that his first hit song was written by someone in Oklahoma, which is where I'm originally from, which is really cool. I can't remember what the name of the song is. I'm blanking on it, but what I love about this painting is I incorporated three-dimensional elements like velvet and other fun little doodads throughout it. It's a portrait, but I also don't take it too seriously, obviously, through the colors and through the textures. And I'm gonna hang this in my music studio with my other iconic musician paintings like Amy Winehouse and Jimi Hendrix. So as you can see, I love portraiture. I want to give you inspiration. I want you to know that you are capable of making the art that you desire to make. It's a journey and process, and I hope that this video helped you unblock your creativity. I hope it helped you tap into who you are as an artist. Please let me know in the comments if you found this to be helpful and if you have been able to use these tips in your creative journey to become a more expressive and authentic artist. I'll see you next time in my next ASMR video. Alright, bye. Alright guys, and we are back. I'm excited. Thank you so much for being here. This is day 3 of recording this Thomas Kincaid painting video. I'm wearing the same dress as I wore, I don't think it was yesterday, the day before yesterday. Yesterday was, wait, no, it was yesterday. Was it? I'm confused. I'm having a time-lapse issue right now, but regardless, I thought I would wear this dress again because I got a pretty positive reaction, which I'm not surprised because this dress never fails me. It's so cute and it matches the painting. You can see the colors I mixed here, so take a screenshot of that if you're following along. And one of these days I will give you a color theory lesson, but I do try to sprinkle that type of thing throughout. So keep your ears tuned for little color theory lessons all throughout. Okay? So again, these are the blobs of color that I'm using. It's acrylic, and I have this airtight seal, and then I'm sprinkling water all over it as well, and that helps keep it nice and wet. Because as you know, maybe you don't know, acrylic paint tends to dry fast, but if you know your little hacks, you can keep it wet for days, which is wild. I had no idea that was possible. Basically, get you an airtight sealed painting palette with painting paper, palette paper that you replace, and then sprinkle water on it, get the palette paper nice and wet, and you should be good to go. Alright, so it can be a little overwhelming whenever you step away from a painting and then you need to go back in and work on it. So if you have that feeling, no, you're not alone. And if you are following along, I advise you to work on this portion of the painting as well, so you can maybe get some tips from me. Alright, crazy how quickly the sun is setting. It's about 4 o'clock my time. It's the last bit of light of the day, and everyone's going home in the studio, thank goodness. And so this is the best time for me to hop on here, just so that it's a quiet environment, but not as much daylight. All right, let's go for it. The first thing I'm gonna do is, actually, the one color I don't have is light blue, like true light blue. So I suppose that's something we will work on really quick. What I'm gonna do is just take a bunch of white, and then, as you can see, I have a couple shades of blue, several shades mixed, but a couple straight from the tube. Taking the lightest shade, mixing it in with the white, which seems like the white kind of dried up a little bit. Okay, that's nice. So it's a really light shade. And since my white is basically gone, oops, I'm gonna go ahead and load that back up, because there's nothing more frustrating than reaching for a paint color that you need and it not being there, and then you have to load it up. So I would just do that before you get frustrated, if that makes sense. But I will say, staying on top of keeping your paint palette replenished is something that people don't talk about enough, in my humble opinion. So, but then again, what do I know? Not a lot. Okay. Now, I will say really quick, I will do my best to intermittently respond to the comments in between my painting. So just hang tight. I'm not ignoring you. For those of you who are tuning in live on Twitch, just know I will read it in between. I don't have so many comments where I can't read it in between. Okay. Alrighty. Taking the light blue and just creating some space left to right in here. And I'm also going to take my white. So there's smoke coming from the chimney that kind of is turning into clouds. That's kind of what I perceive it as, at least. Hopefully you are able to follow along. Now I'm going to take some of my gray blue, blend it in side to side, almost making a cylinder with the cloud. And making sure there aren't any harsh lines. Typically in smoke cloud things, there's not harsh lines, so we're just gonna buff those out. But in here, let's make it just a little darker. Very good. That is still kind of a harsh line, wouldn't you say? So I do want it to be darker, but we still gotta keep it true to the heart of a smoke cloud. All right. Now, something that is, I would say, a characteristic of Thomas Kinkade paintings. I'm gonna go ahead and load up my turquoise paint. Artist Loft. I'm using a combination of Artist Loft and Holbein acrylic and Gaffrey artist paint. So it's multiple levels of like some of them are more expensive than others, and I think altogether it kind of gives me what I am looking for. But don't get too hung up on your materials, because materials are tools, they're important, but having limitations can also actually make your artwork even better, strangely. So work within your limitations. All right, we're gonna go side to side to create the space behind the smoke cloud. If you're working on your painting and you're not really sure where to start, work on the thing that seems easiest to work on in that moment, truly, because that will unfold for you and then lead to the next thing. And if you're hitting a wall on a certain part of your painting, sorry, I'm trying to mix a certain shade of blue, it's not really working. If you're hitting a wall basically with your painting, move on to another portion of the painting. See, I'm taking some of this turquoise blue, working it into this side of the white. See how this blue, I don't know if you can see it through the camera, looks different than that blue. We're taking the more turquoisey blue, mixing it in with the white to get this really whimsical, beautiful, too good to be true environment that is very characteristic for Thomas Kinkade. So I highly recommend using some synthetic colors, which I'm a fan of synthetic colors anyways. I love me some synthetic colors. I say, why not? Most of my paintings glow under the black light, especially most of my recent paintings, which is a little hidden secret that I'm so proud of. So we're going to buff this into white, creating a softness where there's clouds, but you're not totally sure where the clouds start and the sky stops, if that makes sense. Okay. I don't want to get too nitpicky right now because everything's in a flux. We don't want to get too hyper focused on any one part of the painting because that tends to be relatively counterproductive, especially in the beginning stages, which I know this is my third day working on this, but it's not in the final stages. I would say the final stages is the best time to integrate more and more detail, more and more revision. Hyper fixating on little tiny spots in the end of the painting is great because by then you're 100% sure where everything goes and how everything looks in comparison to everything else that's already developed in the painting. So I hope that makes sense. Like I said, I'm out of town coming up. So when I get back, I'll be able to work on this more and finish it. Adding some white up here. Just to make it look like there's some clouds. Let's take a little bit of purple. That might be a bit too much. Just want it to be more intense over here. That's good. I like that. Okay. I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. Let's add a little bit of green highlights in here. We're just gonna articulate the bushes in on the left side. So I'm gonna be dancing between light, medium, and dark green. I feel like the light source is coming from the left for the most part. So imagine it's coming from this side. That's a bit saturated looking, so I'm gonna add some desaturated green. It's a bit too distant to be as bright as it is. Remember, things that are far away tend to be less saturated, and when I learned that, it blew my mind, because you ever see these paintings and it just feels so like there's so much depth that you could just reach in. It has a lot to do with utilizing the language of color and what certain colors communicate visually, especially in terms of paint. We're gonna take some of the pale blue and just move it in around the green. Definitely more than that. I still feel like this green is a bit too much, so we're gonna there's gonna be some rocks in here, and I'm feeling out the land more as well. Now I'm gonna block out some lighter spots. Beautiful. And now I'm gonna take some gray and create the form of the rocks. I'm going to take a little bit of olive green, integrate it into my rocks. And some dark gray blue. Just feeling out the land. This is important to do for Thomas Kincaid style painting because you can tell that he really goes in and takes his time and feels it out. So we're going to take some blue, move that in to a few places. And that also creates almost like different sides of the rock clusters, if that makes sense. I think I'm going to give you a quick little example. Hang on. So, this is the abstract painting that's happening because of the demonstration. So, pretend this is a close-up of the rock. We've got the rock right here. We're going to do kind of an organic shape. Where the light hits it, we're going to do a thick moment, right? Then another, kind of shape it with some blue, and that gives it the side. Then we're going to shade it down here, and that's going to ground the rock. Does that make sense? This is how you give it. And here's like some brown that we work into it, so that's another plane on the rock. So that's how you do it, and you kind of feel it out that way. All right, so we were working on this portion, so I'm gonna go in, stipple, 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 light green all the way down this. It's almost like an S, swervy S shape. And in here it's like the lime green. There's definitely green gradients all throughout, which is basically like, here's say the medium shade, here's like the light shade, here's an even darker shade of medium, here's an even darker shade of that. You see how that's actually too many shades darker, but like you see how it's creating a gradient, and you can kind of like blend those together the opposite direction. I don't know, that's kind of a close-up of the technique I'm using. So keep that in mind. Okay? Trust me, I know all of the tricks. That's why I'm here. Okay. So, going in, adding the dark blue and green in here as well. I want to highlight these trees with this nice gray color by just streaking it through the left side, which this is a combination between lit from the left and lit from the back, because it's definitely backlit as well, meaning that the light is coming from back here as well. So I will say there might be some flaws with the image, because I used AI as a reference, so there might be some flaws inherently but I will also do my best to correct those if it bothers me, and if it doesn't, I'm just gonna continue with it, because paintings don't necessarily have to be 100% accurate to reality to be impactful and for them to communicate what we were trying to communicate through them. So creating another branch or another tree coming through here, coming up, and there we go. And adding some lighter colors around it. So you're hanging in there, learning a thing or two. I'm a little bit surprised that I'm drinking coffee this late, but also not, so. Okay. Let's go in here and add some nuance. What are they doing outside? Some of my paint dried, so okay. Alright, I'm adding some desaturated pink in through my dark pink by just stippling. We're gonna add purple and darker pink in through this as well, but I'm basically creating little clusters, and these are almost like cherry blossoms or something. Like I said, it's very Thomas Kinkade to have just to create a scene that's more beautiful than real life, and it's very idealistic, and some might not be everyone's cup of tea. It's okay. Art doesn't have to be for everybody. I'm adding a little bit of the bright pink in there as well, but we don't want to do too much. Not yet. We're doing like horizontal clusters through the bark, like through the trunk of the tree. So keep that in mind. I kind of feel like there needs to be more of the sky coming through here. And I definitely need to create a few straggling branches and connecting branches, and I'm gonna do that. This branch, the center branch, goes off the canvas for now. I might change that though. There's like some branches kind of peeking in and out of the blossoms. Okay. Actually, I'm trying to think what my next step is. I've been moving between a few different things, but basically focusing on the left side of the painting more than I was earlier. So, yeah. Relax. And be creative. Relax and be creative. Love it. The next step is to bring, well, I'm gonna add a little more water. I spent quite a lot of time working on these paint mixtures, and I don't want them to dry out, so definitely do this occasionally if you're using acrylic. I recommend using acrylic if you're a beginner. That's a lot of why I paint with acrylic for these creative sessions, because I know that it's easier for a lot of people to use acrylic, especially when you're a beginner. So, including myself, I mean, I've used oil paint off and on for a long time, and I find acrylic to be easier to use. Okay. If you are going to use oil, I highly recommend using water-soluble oil. It's still oil paint. It just isn't so bad for you and the environment, because oil paint is incredibly toxic. More so than a lot of things. Like, there are plenty of painters who have died from just being exposed to the toxins of the paint for so many years. Alright, we're taking the blue, blending that in with the green. I'm going to take the green, blend it in with the blue, and we're like going to be unsure where it starts and stops in the best way possible. That's what's gonna make it feel atmospheric. Stipple, 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 breaking up some of those color gradients. All right, that's looking good. Dot, 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 dot. Adding some highlights in between these trees. Let's take our super light blue and move it through the top of these bushes with this stippling motion, almost a side to side hatching motion at times. And this is going to be the start of our bushes. Alright, so what we're gonna do is up here we're gonna do the kind of the classic, I mean, if it looks bad, I'm gonna just wipe it off, but it's kind of like the classic V shape, and then like a little body right here. It's very Here's one. I'm whispering because I'm closer to the microphone. I don't want it to seem like I'm screaming in your ear. So yeah, it's like a little leaf, basically. And then a small one back here. There. I don't know if you can see these from where you are, but I still think it's worth including. Just smoothing this out a little bit with some blue to make a softer background for the bird. Okay. Now one with the arms down. That looks good. I think that looks like birds. I don't know if you can see them all the way. They're just like a small little detail that if you look closely, you'll see. Just going in, adding a little detail to my mountain, moving it through the rainbow so the rainbow feels sheer. Alright, that looks good. At a certain point, you just have to be like, alright, I'm done. But I think I want to add just a little bit more detail over here. Kind of like what I did over here. I do think that this tree could be just, I don't know. There's something about it. I'm not sure. It just doesn't feel totally done. I can't really put my finger on it. Maybe I'm just hyper obsessing though. I'm adding blue to make it feel like it's like the sky coming through the cherry blossoms. That's the goal, but I don't know if that's actually working. I mean, that looks pretty good. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. Okay. I'm gonna take a picture again and see if it's better or worse. Actually, I like it now. I think I needed to. I like the blue and the cherry blossoms. I think that works. Actually. Okay. Let's work on a few little details in the house that stand out to me. Okay. I take a little bit of brown and create the detail in the windows. All right, that looks good. Sorry about that.
Okay. That looks good. Take some white. That looks good. I wanted to add even lighter shades of green over here. Just in a few places. It's almost like white, but it's not, it's green. That looks good. Just a little highlight. Add a little bit of light blue in here. It's a little cluster of light blue flowers. I'm looking on my phone right now because when it's time for the final touches, I feel like I want to see if there's anything I missed in my reference. Taking a little bit of purple. Highlighting this little cluster of flowers that I kind of keep changing, but it's okay. You have to really do what works for your painting. Like, every painting is going to be a bit different, and it's important to be able to acknowledge like what your painting needs. A few little flowers in here. Adding a little bit of darker purple. Same thing in here. Let's add some purple in here. I'm gonna take a picture. Taking pictures is important because You'll always see something in the picture that you didn't see right in front of you. That's what's so weird about it. I mean, I kind of love it. I kind of low-key love it. This is exciting though, I mean, the final moment, like the final brush strokes of your painting always sneaks up on you as the artist, and it's always like, wow, I thought this would never happen, but it's also very like anticlimactic as well. So it's, you know, that looks better. Way better. That looks good. I want the house to have the amount of detail it requires. So that when the viewer looks closely, they're rewarded for it. They're like, oh, I didn't see that. Okay, that looks good. I feel like on this side, it wouldn't hurt to just add a little bit of red, a little bit more red, because it's so green. Just to balance it, you know? I mean, that looks pretty darn good, in my humble opinion. Not that I know much, but, you know. I mean, is it done? I don't know, maybe. It's hard to say if it's 100% done, but I would say it's mostly done. 99% done, which is pretty good. What I love about it is, even though it's Thomas Kincaid inspired, it's very me. And you can see that it's not like a Thomas Kincaid painting. I love all things beautiful. I love artists who express the beauty of life through their art, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to draw inspiration from Thomas Kincaid. I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. I think it's mostly done. I'm at a really great stopping place. It came a long way. Like, when I first worked, I mean, if you've been following the process, this was one of my more challenging paintings. I really challenged myself through this. But I'm gonna head off. I know it was a short painting session today, but it was really just about adding the final touches to this gorgeous landscape. And what an honor to share this process with you. Thank you for joining me today. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. What a fun journey. Like, seriously, painting this felt like a journey. It really was. It took me so much longer than I anticipated to finish this bad boy. So hopefully that's encouraging for you to know that sometimes paintings take a long time to make. That's all right. Anyways, I'm gonna head off. Thank you for everyone who joined me live today. I'll go up and read the comments before I turn off my monitor for good. But you're amazing, and I'll see you next time.